module as a kind of add-on. And yeah, that's why I'm here. We haven't done any kind of digital campaigns as yet, but we're looking at adding that to our portfolio, and hopefully I'm going to meet some great people today to help us achieve that.
Good, thank you. Which leads me on very neatly to the first question, actually. Before we look at the creativity, the issue is about kind of mass market, and it's interesting that Scott started with the first ever television ad, because obviously what happened in the 1950s, TV became absolutely mass market, it was ubiquitous, it was universal. So the question is do we think that mobile is going to become as universal as television was in terms of as an advertising medium? So I'll start with Scott.
Well, I guess I'm going to have to stand up each time I answer. I guess, I mean, you know, it's not proven, but certainly we've come on a long way in a decade, and I think if you want to take universal, then the best thing would be to look, I guess, at developing markets. So there's lots of stories about mobile use in places like India, where, for example, fishermen are going out and they've got a boatload of fish and they're cruising down the coast of India, texting in to the fish markets to find out who's got the best price before they choose where they come in. So, and in Africa, credit is becoming currency. So in places where banks, can't have telecoms infrastructure to get cash, people are swapping minutes for food and things like that. So, well, exactly, advertising. Well, it's not proven, but yeah, I mean, you would think so. I mean, mobile TV. We haven't seen the first kind of Big Brother on iPhone, but I wouldn't hold your breath. At some point in the next couple of years, that there will be an app on the iPhone, and everyone who's got an iPhone will be watching a mobile TV type thing. But at the moment, we're with apps. So in terms of the format and the context of the advertising, apps is kind of spearheading the unique format of the channel. And that will evolve into video and television and other stuff.
Yeah. But before we move on, one point I wanted to say about apps, which I do want you to answer. It is this study that came out last year that said 90% of the apps that are downloaded are opened once or never at all. Oh. So there is that problem. You're talking a lot about apps as a kind of point of innovation. Maybe there is an issue about then engaging with people sufficiently. But let's answer the mass market problem question.
Well, I think there's no doubt that handsets in the mobile industry are prevalent throughout the world and will become more and more prevalent. I think the whole question of starting to talk about it as an advertising medium is a little bit hard to answer in its own isolation. The truth is that the industry has gone through a massive amount of change in the way that we market, and we've seen what I call or what a lot of people call the democratization of marketing. And the idea that if you look back when the initial TV ads came out, what they were about was broadcasting out to a whole lot of people that had no way of interacting and no way of replying. And what we've moved to now is obviously you've got your Web 2.0s and all that sort of stuff, and the trend is very much into the fact that consumers are active parts of being marketed to now. They're not just a passive receiver of information. So if you look at it that way, there is no doubt that mobile will have a very important part in that. Will it look like TV looked like? Probably not. Do we know what it's really going to look like? Probably not. Not yet. And that's the challenge really, is about learning how to use the medium in the way that the medium is relevant, but putting the consumer in the way the consumer wants to engage with it at the heart of what we do, rather than trying to say it's going to be the next TV or it's going to be like TV was.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think if you even just look at the nature of the device itself, TV is a 10-foot experience. The web is generally a 2-foot experience, but the mobile is intimate, it's in hand. And so you have this very intimate device, it's kind of difficult to just blast marketing messages through it. I think that the medium itself will have to be based on utility versus just passive awareness or passive engagement. So I think apps certainly is a good way to start, but we're also seeing a lot of brands not trying to create their own app, but find apps that have a lot of usage already and just find a way to integrate into them. It's a lot lower risk, and you kind of bypass the low repeat usage issue.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people they're very skeptical about the iPhone, and I know it's still a very niche market, but I do think that apps are great because it has just opened up a totally new market for people. It's about marketing with utility, with relevance to the user. And to the point about TV being broadcast from mobile, you know, BBC is going to do the World Cup via mobile this year. And Sky and Eurosport already kind of started doing the Olympics through the iPhone. So I do think that there is a kind of a new generation of apps that will come up and will become more popular as we go forward.
Okay. So just to ask one last question from me, and then I'm going to open it up to the rest of you. It's really the creative challenge. I mean, I've already mentioned the fact that 90% of apps are open once, not used at all. And as it goes increasingly mass market, what are the kind of creative challenges? Also, what are the pressures from the clients and brands as well? To what extent are they getting in the way of creativity? Are they helping promote it?
No, brands are being fabulous and helping promote it. Really, we're having great fun. I think, you know, the format of the device has emerged. And if you look at a mobile phone, and this has come out throughout the whole panel, you know, when we are creative with this as a medium, we use the unique elements of it. So the camera, the microphone, the speaker, the screen, the GPS chip inside, a couple of others. And, you know, that is what started happening with Java apps, you know, a couple of years ago on all phones except iPhone. Interestingly, if you look at Google now and their positioning and where we're going with all of this, because part of this, we're asked, so what are you doing now, what are you doing in the future? Everything's working in the cloud. And cloud computing, all that really means is that all the processes happen on a server instead of the phone. So Google Maps is a perfect example of that. If you open Google Maps on your phone, what you're seeing is an outline, like a shell, and the inside bit is populated from Google, and you can see the map. Now, when you think of cloud, going forward, we've got a mantra at Ogilvy Mobile, and it's everyone should have a mobile internet site, an SMS infrastructure, and then all apps should work in the cloud. And what that really means is, if we make an app now, we use these creative elements I just mentioned, but when they work in the cloud, the microphone becomes, as if you're a brand, the microphone becomes your ears, the speaker becomes your mouth, the screen becomes your skin, the camera becomes your eyes, and literally you can function like that. So, you know, creatively, there's a whole massive, you know, landscape there to work with, and certainly, you know, you're seeing lots and lots of this kind of work. I hope that kind of makes sense. Everything's moving off into the cloud.
Okay, yes. So to try and focus the question a bit more, how can you use creativity to get better engagement? More people opening the apps, for example.
Yeah, and I'll go again. I think, and a friend of mine sort of uses this quote, which I think is very true. I think there's a lot of solutions in search of problems in this industry. I think there's a lot of tech that does stuff, but doesn't actually wonder whether the consumer wants to do stuff. And I think that's where you get a lot of apps that are downloaded, look something interesting. Is it relevant? Does it work? Not really. Does it get open? No. So I think, you know, in terms of making mobile work for us, and in terms of that creativity, it just comes down to some of the things that we've, you know, it's not about repeating what we've done in the past in terms of TV and that, but it's putting the respect into mobile that we put into other work that we do. And it's putting the respect and putting the consumer at the heart of it and understanding what they want, where they are at the stage, so that we become enablers, so that we're not just pushing out stuff that we think is right or that we want them to do. And again, I'd sound like a bit like a broken record, but there's a lot of brands that expect consumers to behave in a certain way to them. And it's not really about that. It's about learning what the consumers want to do and how they want to behave and creating solutions that work around them. And that's where the creativity comes, and that's where the cleverness comes, is identifying the way people behave and enabling that through the brand, through an app, through whatever solution it is, in a way that engages them.
Yeah, I agree. I think that, you know, like we really need to think about the phone though and the uniqueness that it has. It's because, you know, with you know the internet, it's pretty much assumed that they're either at home or their office or something like that. With mobile, it's not the case. They could be at home. They also could be, you know, out at a bar somewhere. So, you know, location-based services, I think, are opening up a whole new generation of creative ideas in terms of how we, you know, relate to the medium. So not just thinking about what's relevant to them, but also what's relevant to where they are in the context in which they're using it. So it's, creatively, it's opening up, many doors. But I do think, though, creativity is really going to depend on mobile becoming mainstream. Because it's very difficult to sell in ideas to a client that just doesn't have a lot of scale behind it. It just really can't reach a large audience. So, the adoption of more smartphones and fully web-enabled mobile devices, I think, is really key. And so, but it's a pleasure seeing it explode like it is. It's, I think it's fun for agencies.
Yeah, I mean, I don't actually see it different to any other media. So what I would say is that you have to always be creative to cut through the clutter. And this is just another channel to achieve that. A lot of people nowadays